Got it? You're gonna just move this here while I'm checking things.
I want to move it.
Okay, and then when we get to the next page, you just go to there. Okay, now I gotta go check people's homework who haven't done it, or who didn't turn it in. But I do have some of your homework. Yeah, you're gonna stand up, there you go. I'll call you Mr. Lacey. Alright, Mr. Lacey will be in charge here for un momento. Alright, if you did not turn this in.
Did I turn mine?
Joe George did not turn this in.
I just threw down my bike.
Yeah.
Well,
Gotta work on that. Alright, Colin.
Josh.
Yes, I did turn it. I turned it in.
Brett. Here's yours. Anon.
Can I get a new one that I made in for tutoring?
Yeah. So you
Wait, what's it look like?
Julie.
I did that. It's not the same. It's not the same, Chief. Look.
Amanda.
Mental illness.
Not the same.
Christian.
I turned it in.
I didn't even know mentally
Sam.
How did I get a 9 and
Cause you missed some.
there's like 2 people in this class.
14.
There's like 30 people.
And then Grant. Alright, Zayna, did I get your one?
Yeah, I didn't grab the
I didn't get you.
Outside of school.
everything else.
Maybe not the Friday.
Joe, you said you cleaned out your binder.
But where's my pencil?
Look, I need the worksheet. You gotta look at the
Well, my pencil just like formed and ran away.
Like, yeah, I didn't know what I do with
I'm just that so cool. You're so cool.
Fireworks, guys. Really should have one for each class. All right, got yours. Christiana, what do you got?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and move all the way down to 5 and 6 there.
9 and 6.
Joe, I'll do this at the end of class.
Get a good one, Jaden.
And is that everybody else? Connor, did I get yours? No, I didn't get yours.
No.
Goes down in here.
This is how many people are in my science class.
Yeah, we had like 10 people in our science class.
We have the same science class.
I know.
Rachel, you turned it in? I don't have yours.
I didn't turn it in.
Really?
No, I said we don't.
What's going on, Rachel?
You know,
You just plug them into that form right there. You just plug the 2 in for the Y one, the 3 in for that, and the 6 for that. We'll get to that in a second.
Un momento.
All right, Mr. Lacey, I'll take over. Appreciate your efforts, your expertise.
I'm looking at mine.
All right, now, you know, obviously we got people missing, and we've talked about this multiple times. Christian, exhibit.
Sorry. My
You
bad.
have access to all of this stuff, okay, on through Canvas, and you need to make sure when you're absent, and I'm talking to you people that aren't here, sorry, that you go to the videos, you get the assignments, you turn them in. It's going to make your life a lot easier. It's not, you cannot just come back and say, oh, I didn't know about it, and then just want a free pass. The free pass days are done. Okay, so make sure you get those assignments, you get them completed for those. And I looked through most of the ones that were turned in Friday, and everything was good. A couple minor mistakes on This one here, well, hold on. Even here, when you're given the y-intercept, I'd say the number one mistake is people want to put it on the x-axis and make this -2 here. And I can never figure out why, but that just tends to happen. So I try to figure out why so I can correct it. I'm not able to. Like a y-intercept of 5, a lot of people will put it here because I don't know why. It's got a y-intercept, y-axis. Okay, it's got to start on the vertical axis. So it has to start here. Okay, not on the x-axis. It has to start here, not on the x-axis. Okay, I don't know really how to get that to sink in for some. A few people miss this one. The slope is -3. The point it contains is -3, 4. You have to start right there. Okay, you have to start right there with that point. And it doesn't give us the y-intercept. We don't know what it is. Okay, you may be able to figure it out by doing the slope, but it doesn't matter. And then this is going to be a really big part as we move forward, being able to write equations of lines. And we've done a pretty good job, honestly. Overall, those of you who've been turning that stuff in, it seems to be pretty good. And then except for the last few, you got to watch here because this is so easy, you want to make it hard. All you got to do is plug it in. This is the only case where it says point slope form. Only case, and that's that equation y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. And all you got to do is plug those points in, and you really don't need to do anything else unless you get a minus and negative and you just make it a plus. Other than that, you don't need to go through all the solving of it, getting y by itself. Okay.
Could you go over 13? I have some issues with that one.
13?
Yeah.
So what else did I hand up? No. All right, so 13, as you look at that one, did you get the slope to be 1/2?
No.
That's your issue. So look at why you didn't get it to be 1/2. So see if you can tell me why not. What did you get?
I got 4/7.
How did you get 4/7? All right, because you're smart enough to figure that out. Look at your work. How did you get 4/7? What do I got there? 0, 3, 1, 9. What'd you do wrong?
Put -2 minus -2.
Okay, so you did this. You did the y, and then you did the x for this one.
Yeah.
Okay, so you just did a careless mistake.
Yeah. Okay.
So as you see here, -2 minus -3, which is +3, gives you 1. 4 minus 2 gives you 2. On those, you just really got to double check each step because each step, if you mess up the slope, the rest of it's done. Okay, Sam?
If you forget to, for question 16, if you forget to put x plus 2 instead of x minus -2, would you count that wrong?
I'd count a little bit off. It's not like I'm going to just take the whole problem and give you a 0 on it, but you do need to write x plus 2. So you might lose, I don't know, 1/2 point if it's worth 4 points a point, something like that. But you get the majority of the problem for that one. All right, so that's going through writing those equations of lines. All right, we're going to go through one more section, and we are going to test Friday. Okay, 5.6 through 5.8. And I can't remember if we call it a quiz or a test. Some type of assessment. Friday. And a couple of you stumbled on the last one, so it's an opportunity to, maybe improve that grade. But let me give you some guided notes here for today's lesson. All right. And maybe Joe Santa will come early and get you a 3-ring binder. See if I can find one. Get you organized. Yeah. You're welcome.
I'm good. I got a bit. It's 5 hours. So I went to church. I came home. I went up to my friend's house. And then I went back to my house.
Joe.
Cold war for like 20 minutes.
Every time you look right here.
Went to work.
You're
Came home.
welcome.
Got on cold war till 2 a.m. And then I got off and went to bed.
Rachel,
And then
you think math's funny, huh?
I think it
Is
is.
that my pencil? It's not? I lost mine. All right, Colin, give me anything about parallel lines you know.
There are two lines that never touch.
Okay, 2 lines that never touch. Good. Perpendicular lines. Sam, do you remember anything about perpendicular lines?
They intersected a 90-degree angle.
Intersected 90-degree angles. So we're going to talk about parallel lines. We're going to talk about perpendicular lines. Parallel lines. I do give you, there is one little thing we got to say. They never touch, but we technically need to say they're in the same plane. A plane is just a flat surface. Because if you look at this pen and this pencil, like, are they ever going to touch? No, but would you consider them parallel? They're not parallel. They're skewed. You'll learn that more in geometry. But they're in the same plane, so they're never going to touch. Now, the big thing, okay, is if and only if they have the what? If and only if they have the same slope. So if you write the equation of the line, 1/2 x plus 5 and 1/2 x plus 1, they both have a slope of 1/2. Those have to be parallel. Okay? Now, there is a little bit of an exception, is we haven't covered this a ton. Vertical lines are obviously parallel. They're written in a little different form. A vertical line has the equation of just x equals a number. So x equals -2 is a vertical line. X equals 4 is a vertical line. They will never touch. Do you remember what an equation for a horizontal line will look like? It's a little bit of a special type. Do you remember? So like right here. Whoa. If I draw this line right here. Whoops, that's a pretty bad line. If I draw that line right there, does anybody know what the equation of that line is? What's its slope? Go ahead, Connor.
0.
Slope is 0. So what do you think the equation would be?
X, for the equation.
Yeah.
I cannot think of this.
The equation is usually mx plus b. You told me the slope is what?
0.
What's 0 times x give me?
0.
0. What's the y-intercept of that line?
It's 3.
3. This would just be y equals 3. Okay? If you have a y equals, so if I draw this line right here, that would have the equation y equals -2. If I draw this line down here, what would be the equation of that line? That would be y equals -7. Are those still parallel? Yeah, they gotta be. So if it's just y equals, it's a horizontal line. If it's x equals, it's a vertical line. Those are kind of the two special cases. But once you have a number in front of the x, then you got a slope. Or if you have an x, you're going to have not a horizontal or vertical line. So those are parallel. All right, look at these two lines. Those two lines are they form right angles. Okay, and this is not on your guided notes. What's the slope, or how do I figure out the slope of the line going to the right? Okay, just by looking, how would I figure out the slope? Connor?
Right, and then go up, so like rise over run.
So what do we got to find first? We got to find 2 points. Can I find the point where they cross? Where's the next point at where it's a nice point?
1, 4. Yeah.
1, There?
Yeah.
How about here too? How about here? Okay, to go from point to point, how far up do we have to go?
Up one,
Over how far?
2.
Up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. So what's the slope of that line? 1/2. What's the slope of the blue line? So here's this point, here's this point, this point, this point, this point. How far down do we go? Sam? Is it positive or negative?
Oh, is it negative 2?
Is it going downhill?
Yeah.
Yep, so this one is -2 or -2 over 1. So you go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. These lines form right angles. These lines are perpendicular. What can you tell? What is true about their slope? That's 1/2, that is -2 over 1. When a fraction is flipped, it has a special name. All right, now what are you gonna tell me?
I don't get enough.
Did I give you any? I didn't give either of you any?
You didn't get any either.
You didn't get any either? Did you guys get any over here? Did I just stop at Connor? Everybody else? Joe, did I give you some?
I don't think so.
I sure did.
Not hiding the reason.
Oh, I see. All right, and then Christiana, did I give you some?
Oh.
Okay. Sorry about that. No.
You're welcome.
All right, -2 and 1/2. Well, if you have a fraction, okay, and the fraction is flipped, we call those reciprocals. If two lines are perpendicular, then their slopes are negative reciprocal, meaning one's a positive number, one's a negative number. Now, where does that go there on your? Yep, right there. It says if two lines are perpendicular, then their slopes are, and then you should put in that spot negative reciprocals. So what that means, if a slope is 2/3, a perpendicular line will have a slope of -3/2. You flip the fraction, one has to be positive, one has to be negative. Okay? If the slope is 5 over 4, what would be the perpendicular slope? It would be
-4 over 5.
-4 over 5. What if a slope is -2? What would be that? What would be the perpendicular?
2.
Not 2. You got to think of this as -2 over 1, even though it's not written that way. What would be the negative reciprocal? It's always going to be positive, and it would be what? 1/2. What if I have a slope of -10? What would be perpendicular to -10? Is this sinking in? Sam?
110.
Positive 1/10. All right, good. So that would be the case for those. So negative reciprocals. Now there is one little special case. Now what they'll say if the product of their slopes is -1. Well, if you look at all these slopes, okay, when you multiply them together, you get like -6 over 6, or you get -20 over 20. You'll get a 1. I don't like to, I think it's a little bit easier if I talk about negative reciprocals. So this is -2/3, that's 3/2. The big one here is the vertical and horizontal lines. The way they're written, you don't know the slope of either, both of them. But if you have like x equals 2 is 1 right here, and y equals 3, these are automatically going to be perpendicular. A horizontal and vertical line have to hit it at a right angle. So you just got to be careful with that one. Otherwise, you got to look at the slope. Hey, think about this. What if the slope is 1? This throws people off. I tell you, the slope of one line is 1. What would be the perpendicular line to it? Think of that as a fraction. What is 1 as a fraction? It is, Christian, you with me here?
Yep.
It's 1 over 1. What's the flip of 1 over 1?
-1.
Yeah, you just got to make it negative. So the perpendicular line would be -1. Okay, this is one of those kind of special cases too. And this is what we just talked about. If you know the slope of a line, the slope of a perpendicular line will be the opposite reciprocal. Okay, 2/3, -3/2. 1/5, Opposite of reciprocal would be -5/1, or just -5. -7, 1/7. -3/4, 4/3. 3/8, -8/3. All right, what about parallel lines? What's true about their slope? Okay, went back 1 second. Parallel lines, Josh, what's true about their slope?
So it's negative.
It's what?
Negative?
No. 2 lines are parallel. There's something else. Look at the top. It tells you.
They don't intersect.
They don't intersect, but what's true about their slopes? Huh? They're the same slopes. Exactly the same. Opposite reciprocals are perpendicular lines. Okay. All right, I think this is the one on your paper, right? Now, let's go through here, and I'm just going to identify the slope. So y = 5/3 x. When it's in this form, 5/3 is my slope. Y = x. What is the slope of that line? All right, we got to be careful there. Amanda, what's the slope of that line?
0.
Not 0. If you got an x, there's really a number in front of it. 1. There's a 1 in front of it. Y = 5/3 x plus 4. It is a slope of 5/3. And then y = x plus 1. It also has a slope of 1. So which lines are parallel? Joe?
Would 1 and 3 be parallel?
Good. 1 and 3 are parallel. And then what else, JB? What are there any other lines that are parallel? 2 and 4. 2 and 4 are parallel. Okay. Now look at that next set. Now what are we asking here? Which lines are perpendicular? Well, let's identify the slope of each one. Oh, all right. Take a look at 1 and 2. They're the special cases there. Y = 3. What type of line is that? Zane, do you remember?
It's the
Anand's gonna help you. It's a horizontal line.
okay.
That's what I'm looking for. It's a horizontal line. What about x = 2? That is a vertical line. We agree with that? So this is the kind of that special case where I don't necessarily know the slopes. Well, that has a slope of 0, and that's technically undefined. But 1 and 2 are perpendicular. Line 1 and line 2 are perpendicular. What's the slope of 3? What is the slope of 3? It is, Colin?
1/3?
No, are we looking at the same line?
What?
Are we looking at the same line?
I think so. It's -1/3.
What's that number right in front of the x?
3.
So the slope is
Yeah.
3. I think you were looking down here.
Oh.
Now, technically, if you have this in front, this is kind of in point slope form, you can leave that. That is going to be -1/3. The question is, are those perpendicular? Are they opposite reciprocals? One's positive and one's negative, so that's good. Is one the flip of the other? Yes, because 3 is 3/1. So 3 and 4 are perpendicular. Do you know the little symbol for perpendicular? Okay, it looks like an upside down T. So do you see that? Okay, if somebody says perpendicular lines, and then sometimes they'll write it like this, perpendicular lines. Okay, so that symbol means perpendicular. All right, so let's just take an equation and saying, are they parallel or perpendicular? All right, are we on the back now?
Yeah.
All right, flip it over. All right, write an equation in slope-intercept form, which is y = mx plus b. Okay, so I got y = mx plus b. I need to do that. That passes through the point 410 and is parallel to the line described by y equals 3x plus 8. Well, all I need to know is the slope. Do you know the slope of the line y equals 3x plus 8? Yeah, it's what? 3. And since the line we're looking for is parallel to it, what's its slope going to have to be? Okay? It's got to be 3. So we're going to do exactly what we did on that worksheet from Friday, is we're going to find the equation of this line. It hits 410, it goes through m equals 3. So I'm going to plug this in to this function over here and figure out what b is. So y is 10, m is 3, x is 4, plus b. All right. So I'm going to do that. So 10, 3 times 4, that's just what? 12. Subtract 12, negative 2 equals b. All right, final answer. Christian, what would be my final answer?
Y equals 3x minus 2.
Good. Y equals 3x minus 2. All right, now it doesn't ask you to graph it, but I wanted to do that anyway. The original line is 3x plus 8. So just take a look. If I go to plus 8 and I do 3x, I go down 3, and I got to go to the left 1 to give it a positive slope. Okay. My line will look like, let me use this one. And now here's the question. Is this line going to be parallel to that line, and will it hit 410? That's the second question. Will it be parallel to that line, and will it hit 410? Well, let me plug in 3x minus 2. You start at negative 2. If I go up 3, right 1, and then I connect, okay, are those lines parallel? Okay, as you look at them. What are you doing? Does it hit the point 410? If I go over 4 up 10, there's that point right there. So it hits all those conditions. It's parallel to the original line. It hits the point 410. Okay, so you don't have to graph these every time. I just want to do this kind of for the first couple here. All right. Okay, you get right now. Y equals 3x plus 8. Otherwise, that make it no 3x plus 8. All right, now for this next one. All right, put in the y equals 2x minus 5, and I want you to graph 2x minus 5 on your paper, and then just wait. So parallel, perpendicular line, y equals 2x minus 5. All right, and graph that one. All right, graph that one. And then wait till you have the other line. So just wait. You're gonna make a mistake. Yeah, you screwed it up too. Okay. You just wait for me. Write down y equals 2. That's exact. Yeah. And then graph it. Okay. And then graph it. All right. Graph the 2x minus 5. And don't do anything else. All right, what do you got? Graph y equals 2x minus 5. You know how to graph it? What's the y-intercept? Yeah, so start making it fun. Okay. No, that's on the x-axis. Start with y. All right, good. All right, what do you got? All right, now for this one here. So y equals 2x minus 5. That has a y-intercept of negative 5. It has a slope of 2 over 1. 2 over 1. And so I'm connecting those points. Now, what do I want to find? I want to find a perpendicular line. A perpendicular line to it. I want to find the equation in slope-intercept form that goes through the point 2, negative 1. So I start with this. It hits at 2, negative 1. But what is the slope of my new line going to be? Zane? No. Alan? You don't know? Amanda?
-2.
No. Colin?
1
No. Joe?
3.
No. Sam?
4.
Why are we guessing
I
here?
think what?
What is true about perpendicular lines and their slopes? We were the Christian. What is true about perpendicular lines and their slopes?
They cross. They're opposite,
Opposite what?
reciprocal.
Opposite reciprocals. So if one is 2/3, the other is negative 3/2. If one is 1/5, the other is negative 5. These two lines are perpendicular. What is the slope of this line right here? The slope of that line given is what, Connor?
It's.
All right, what are we missing here? What am I like when you have an equation written? I thought we knew this. Maybe we don't.
Is it -1/2?
For y equals 2x minus 5, there's two things that it tells me. What's the slope of that line? I guess we got to make sure we know that. Jay Lee, do you know what the slope of that line is? What? 2. What are we looking for? It's just a number in front of what?
I said
Well, yeah, but you're wrong. The slope of this line is 2. The y-intercept is negative 5. But I want a perpendicular line. So that slope is 2. What's going to be perpendicular? You got to flip it and make it negative. Negative 1/2. What's that?
I said that.
You did not.
I said that because I said -1/2.
You did not.
I did say that. You weren't listening.
It's on the tape. We'll go back.
Yeah, he did.
So you got to when it says perpendicular, you got to understand what does that mean. So you look at the slope of the line given. It's 2. That means we have to use negative 1/2. We have to use the opposite reciprocal. So you got to stop and just think through there. You know this. I mean, quit acting like you don't. We've gone over this enough. When you're given that equation, the number in front of the x is always your slope. So now this is your xy. So the y is -1. The m is negative 1/2. The x is 2. And we're looking for the b. So I get -1 equals negative 1/2 times 2. I don't know if you need to use your calculator, but -1 plus b, add 1. All right, well, what's -1 plus 1? 0. That's okay. Our b equals 0. So my equation now becomes y equals, you use the perpendicular slope. It's -1/2 x plus 0, which is just -1/2 x. And so if I graph that, what is its y-intercept? Its y-intercept is 0. And then I go up, down 1 over 2 to get a slope of -1/2. And then I draw the line in between there. And if you look, those lines are going to hit at right angles because they have opposite reciprocal slopes. Okay, perpendicular, opposite reciprocal slopes, parallel, same slope. Same slope. So you're gonna have to slow down a half a second here. Slow down. And if it's given to you in this form, you're good. You know what the slope is, you just have to flip it. All right, for that. All right. Now, all right, what about that next one? Write an equation in slope. We don't need to graph these in slope intercept form for the line that passes through 5, 7 and is parallel to the line described by 3x plus 5y equals 50. So put 3x plus 5 equals 30. Sorry. 3x plus 5y equals 30. Put that in that blank. Put that in that blank. All right. Put that. 3x plus 5y equals 30. All right, now we need to know their slopes. We know it hits the 0.57. What is the slope of that line? I don't know. Yeah, here, it is not 3. You only know the slope. We gotta do something first, Joe. Not 5. Okay? What do I gotta do first? You gotta put it in that slope intercept form. We gotta get y equals mx plus b. It is only the slope when it is in this form. So y equals whatever, 2x plus 1. So you gotta subtract 3x. You gotta move the x over. And that gives me 5y equals negative 3x plus 30. That still doesn't give me the slope. Allie, what do I still need to do? Yep, I gotta divide everything by 5. Divide each piece by 5. So that gives me y equals. Now, if you divide 3 by 5, what does it give you? Negative 3/5. If it gives you that decimal, don't use the decimal. Keep it as that fraction. Keep it as negative 3/5 x. Now, 30 divided by 5, that's a nice number. All right, Rachel, what is the slope of that line? Negative 3/5. All right. Am I looking for a parallel or a perpendicular line, Josh? Parallel. So what slope do I need to use?
+3.
Nope. What do we know about parallel lines and their slopes? They're the same. So if this has a slope of negative 3/5 and this line is parallel to it, it has to have the same slope. So what slope do I use? Negative 3/5. So use m equals negative 3/5. You would use 5/3 if it said perpendicular. So now what do I use that with? I use it with y equals mx plus b. All right, 7 is my y. M is negative 3/5. 5 is my x. Now, the 9 times out of 10, these two, I'm going to make them multiply together to give me a nice whole number. So if you keep getting it, and every now and then it will give you a fraction, and that's okay. But more times than not, it'll give you a nice number. Because what's negative 3/5 times 5? You can use your calculator. Negative 3. So I get 7 equals negative 3 plus b. Add 3. And I get 10 equals b. So now my final answer is y equals negative 3/5 x plus 10. Okay, negative 3/5 x plus 10. For that. All right, we're not going to get all the way through this next one, but let me at least just write down this equation in that line where it goes negative 10x plus 2y equals 4. Okay, negative 10x plus 2y equals 4. Okay, we might have to hit that tomorrow. All right, do you need to use your notes? And we're going to give you a few problems here. Okay, go ahead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, I'm gonna take off that last one. You got 7 problems.
It's a lot of problems.
We have like 2 minutes.
Watch homework. Okay, 7 problems. You gotta keep up with this. And then look back at your notes or the video if you get stuck.
I don't get stuck ever.